Welcome back to Tice Travel Time. Today I am discussing the 5 essential tips to know if you are deciding to move abroad to Spain. Moving abroad is a thrilling adventure and it is super exciting, but it can also be something that is super stressful if you don't prepare well and you don't know the responsibilities that you will have or that you need to prepare for before going. Today I am sharing the top 5 tips that you must know before deciding to move to Spain. These tips should help ensure that your adventure of moving abroad goes smoothly and that you are well prepared so that you can enjoy the journey of moving abroad. I promise you it is one of the best experiences ever and you will not regret moving abroad. So let's dive into what you need to know before you move abroad in order to make the transition as smooth as possible. The first tip is to get familiar with visa requirements. Now, I did make a separate video that goes very into detail about the visa process, specifically for the New York consulate, but it can also be applied to a lot of other consulates within the United States or abroad, as long as you make sure that you look at the specific requirements that you need. Depending on your nationality and how long you plan to live abroad, it is really important that you research what specific visa you need to be applying for. Now, the visa process can be very lengthy, and I highly recommend that you start the process as early as possible. Make sure you keep your documents super organized and that you know where everything is. This is really important, especially if you are planning to be in Spain over 180 days and you're looking for a student or a work visa. There are multiple different requirements, and it's really important that you know that. Additionally, you may already know this, but when you apply for your visa, especially if it's within the United States, they will keep your U.S. passport while they are processing your visa for Spain. This is really important that you know this because while I was at my visa appointment, there were a lot of very stressed out students that couldn't go to their trip to Europe while that visa was being processed. It is really important you will not have access to your passport while your visa is being processed. So make sure you know that and have all of the research done for your visa process because this is definitely very important. The next tip is to learn the language, even if it's just a little bit. Now, I will say in the bigger cities, a lot of Spaniards do speak English, but having a basic level of Spanish is ridiculously helpful. I knew a little bit of Spanish moving to Spain, but honestly, I wish that I had taken it more seriously studying the language before moving there. I think that this really helps you communicate with your coworkers and understand the little needs and things that your students need. This is really helpful and just really important that you do have a basic knowledge of the language. Whether it's ordering food, asking for directions, or making new friends, having knowledge of the local language is really helpful. And I highly recommend that you start practicing Spanish because I promise you, you are going to be very grateful. The more words you know, the happier you're going to be. And it's going to make the process a lot easier with moving to a foreign country. I do recommend using Duolingo or Babbel. I personally use Duolingo. I love it. I've been practicing Spanish with Duolingo and I think that it's really fun. I love that they have a little language streak. I'm obsessed with it. So I really like that. It encourages you to constantly be practicing the language and it really allows you to learn as much as possible. Now, I personally prefer Duolingo, but there are a lot of other ways to learn a language. So I highly recommend that you follow the method that will help you the most in learning Spanish. My third tip is to understand the cost of living and budgeting while in Spain. Now, I did make a separate video of my budgeting for Spain and how much I was spending versus how much I was making, but I highly recommend that you research this before. I will say it is quite expensive to move in general. Moving abroad is even more expensive. It is including your flight, it's including your visa costs, it's including signing up for an apartment and any fees you have to pay for a real estate agent. You might have to pay the first month's rent and the last month's rent. There are a lot of different costs and you need to make sure that you are aware of how much it's going to cost before you fully commit and realize, oh no, you can't afford it because hopefully you can. But this is definitely something that I highly recommend that you research before and make sure that you have a clear spreadsheet or idea of how much it's going to cost to be moving abroad. I will recommend that you have some savings before you move to Spain. And also, I think that it is really important just to have a base idea of all the costs. Obviously, my budgeting video was specific to the costs in Bilbao, but cities like Madrid and Barcelona are a lot more expensive than the Basque Country. So having a really good base idea of how much are the utilities, how much is rent, groceries, and any of those costs is really good to have a basic idea of those costs. It's crucial to budget properly, and I highly recommend that you do some research beforehand. Tip number 4 is to get to know the healthcare system. Obviously, healthcare is super important, and Spain has a really good public healthcare system. But you likely will look into private health insurance. With my specific visa of over 180 days for a student visa, I was required by the consulate and my visa to get private health insurance. With this insurance, I think that it's really important that you know exactly what that insurance is covering and all expectations of that. If you are on birth control or you require medication daily, it is really important that you know you have access to that and you can get it on your health insurance. And I think that this is definitely something that I maybe wish that I looked into a little bit more before moving there. I do think you can learn what you need to learn while you are there, but this is definitely something that you should definitely know beforehand, and it's good to be aware of what the health insurance is covering. Tip number 5 is to embrace the Spanish lifestyle. Now, I have said this in my cultural shocks video, but the life in Spain is slow. It is wholesome. It is just kind of taking in the moment. It's very relaxing. And personally, I think that it's very different from life in the United States. I think that you are going to love Spain. Adjusting to this different lifestyle is hard. You're maybe starting a new job and you're in a new place and there's a new language. And there are so many different factors that really weigh down on the experience. But I promise you, it is beyond worth it. I absolutely love Spain. I highly recommend that you do this. Bite the bullet. Move to Spain and you got this. I know that it's stressful and I know that it can be overwhelming, but I promise you that once you're in Spain and you're settled and you have everything organized, you will be so grateful for the opportunity to live there. Moving to Spain is an experience that is going to be so fulfilling, and I know that these 5 essential tips are really going to help make the experience easier and more enjoyable for you. If you found this video helpful, make sure to give it a thumbs up and like, subscribe, comment, everything. I appreciate you watching this video so much. Thank you for supporting Tice Travel Time, and we'll see you again in the next video. Thanks for watching.